local for you. From the heart of the Quad Cities, your local election headquarters presents For the Record. And now, here's your host, Jim Needleman.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jim Needleman, and this is For the Record. Illinois Democrats are trying to do what their Republican counterparts in Iowa did after seizing control of the executive and legislative branches of government. That's make drastic changes to the state income tax code. Iowa Republicans pulled it off with relative ease, though it is a tougher road in Illinois. We haven't dug into it too deeply on this program, though we will take a closer look this morning. Governor J.B. Pritzker unveiled his progressive income tax plan almost a month ago now. Here's how that would break down based on income and change the current flat tax rate of 4.95% for everyone. The lowest tax bracket would be for individuals or couples making up to $10,000 a year. Their rate would be 4.75%. Anything more than that, up to $100,000, is taxed at 4.9%. Income earned beyond $100,000 up to $250,000 pays the current 4.95%. Make a dollar more than $250,000 up to $500,000 pays 7.75% in state taxes. The next bracket goes to $1 million and gets taxed at 7.85%. Yes, a lot of numbers. The top bracket gets charged on income above $1 million at 7.95%. Governor Pritzker maintains fewer than 3% of state taxpayers would pay a higher rate than they do now. His plan would increase property tax credits by 20% for individual homeowners making less than $250,000 a year or couples that make less than $500,000. He proposes tax credits as well of up to $100 a child. The biggest hurdle in all of this, though, is that a constitutional amendment is required with voters having a final say. That is arguably the most significant legislation in Springfield this session during a very busy year for lawmakers. We'll touch on that and more this morning with State Representative Tony McCombie, a Republican, and Democratic State Representative Mike Halpin. Welcome both of you back to the program.
Thanks.
Well, conservative groups are trying to fight the tax proposal. An ad released by the group Ideas Illinois makes the argument that it would be a jobs tax on the middle class. The independent Urban Brookings Tax Policy Center claims that is incorrect. PolitiFact also called that claim false. So where is this debate going, Representative Halpin?
I think the debate is going to first say, do we want to offer this opportunity to the voters to say whether we want to change to a fair tax? I think it's certainly the constitutional way to do it, and it's the right thing to do as well. We need to go to the voters and explain first why we want to go to this, why it's important that the wealthy pay their fair share, and I think we're going to find a lot of support here in the Quad Cities for that.
Representative McCombie, I know that Republicans are trying to fight this tooth and nail, but how do you see this playing out, and is there any room for compromise for Republicans to get something that they want to see in this tax proposal?
I would say right now there's no room. We have all 44 Republicans on a resolution to not support this. And it kind of puts us in a bad spot because I'm a firm believer in letting the voter decide as well. But when the proposal comes forth, you know, whether you call it a fair tax or I call it an unfair tax or a graduated tax.
It's a graduated progressive tax. Those two terms are more politically charged,
yes.
But it's a progressive income tax structure.
Absolutely. You know, you have to think about, first off, the figures are being determined on revenues from now. You're looking at filling a hole from now and when it's not even going to be enacted for a couple years if it is passed. So I think it's a little misleading to think that we're not going to see a tax hike. And that's, I think, where we're at on the Republican side, is that we don't necessarily trust that the rates that are being proposed today are going to be the rates. And that's really where the problem is. And so it's like we're trying to protect the public from this part of it. I mean, if you want to put the rates into the constitutional amendment, then that would be a different conversation. But that's not.
Yeah, those are always subject to change.
Yeah, the problem with that, though, is that if we're not asking the folks that are making over $1 million to pay a little bit more, the budget situation in the state of Illinois is such that you end up having to raise the flat tax, and that's not the way we should be balancing the budget. That's why we should be asking the people. It's going to take 60% of the people to be in favor of it, which means it's going to be overwhelmingly, the public will be overwhelmingly supportive if it passes. And that's a good sign that that's the direction we need to go.
Well, we'll see how that plays out. And certainly
Absolutely.
The voters will have the final say. An issue important to the Quad Cities is that rail service to Chicago. Democrats and Republicans in this area, I think, want this. It is essentially at a standstill and needs that financial commitment from the state. The Rauner administration wasn't for this. How much are either of you willing to get on it and lobby for it in Springfield? Representative McCombie, I know this isn't an idea that you're particularly fond of.
Well, no, we're both very supportive of it. And from my understanding, it was in Rauner's. It's been appropriated. I guess now I feel my concern, and I think Mike's concern as well, is is that it's not going to be lumped into the possibility of a capital bill, which I'm sure we'll talk about later, because it's already been.
Well, this is the context to talk about it.
Yeah,
certainly.
yeah. We don't want that now to be our project when this is the project that was already before, because that's going to be a big piece for us to support a capital bill. If, with us living right here by Iowa, we have to make sure that we're going to be getting some of those funds from a capital.
You find the Pritzker administration is open to this, or really going to help support it?
I think so. I've certainly made that pitch to him and to his staff. And this is an area where the state of Illinois has made the commitment for years upon years in a row, as has the federal government. And it's time, hopefully with a new administration, that will put a focus on it to bring the railroad, the private railroad along. To
Right,
make sure
you've got
we can get it
to
done.
make the investment in that last stretch of railway, but of course we need to get the state to put that money up.
And no, but the state has put that money up for years, and that's something I try to correct the record as much as I can, because there seems to be this.
So it's a matter of getting the railway to go along and take the money and do the work?
We're at the stage that the private railroad needs to come to an agreement with the state, a memorandum of agreement as to how to upgrade the right-of-way and upgrade the signals. And we've been prepared to do that, and I hear that negotiations are going on.
Well, we're hoping it comes to pass soon. A lot of the people in the Quad Cities are looking forward to that. We have more to talk about with the Illinois